I am a proponent of the axiom that a witch who cannot curse cannot heal. We must take responsibility that our power can destroy as well as create. It can heal as well as curse. Just like any power, when you are an electrician, you understand that you have to respect electricity because it can harm people just as much as it can help people. Somebody that works with nuclear power understands this is potentially very dangerous. We have to be wise and understanding in how we use it. We want to approach cursing as something that is protective in nature, not malicious in nature. Understand that what we do to another, we do to ourselves. It's not that it's going to come back one day. It may seem to be delayed, just like any magic, in the realm of time and space, because it does take time for things to work themselves through. But the moment you curse, you're cursing yourself as well as the other person. And this is why, as a last resort versus a weapon of convenience, true ethical cursing, and that sounds to many like a contradiction in terms, but it is not, because cursing is sacred. True ethical cursing is always done out of compassion, not joy, not having pleasure in the downfall of someone else, getting sick pleasure out of harming another person. In common craft terminology, there is something called the law of three, that what you put out will come back to you times three. It's a convenient law as far as just understanding the way in which magic expands. What we put out expands, but it never really leaves us. There's no leaving because everything in the astral is connected, and all magic starts in the astral realm. It's only after time, in its last manifestation, that something happens in the realm of form. But the moment you curse, you've cursed yourself. The moment you bless, you've blessed yourself. The moment you've given to yourself. The moment you've stolen from yourself. There is no separation. Everything you do to another, regardless of whether you think they deserve it or not, you are doing to yourself. And you can't get away from that fact. You can try, you can put yourself through a lot of gymnastics to convince yourself that you are immune from this law, but the law is there nonetheless. What you do to another, you are doing to yourself. Calling it a law of return is done out of convenience. From the point of view of our physical senses, it seems like it takes time for it to come back, like it boomerangs back. But in the mental world, there's no need for it to boomerang because it's already happened. When we curse another person, we have to look at what our emotional state is. If we have feelings of hatred, revenge, desire for harming, then we're not in the right frame of mind to curse. When we curse, we must be in a frame of mind where we are relaxed and have a sense of compassion for the fact that we have to limit the behavior of another, bind the behavior of another, or remove another person from our vicinity in order to protect ourselves, our property, our friends, our family, our community. It's always done out of compassion for ourselves, for each other, and the person whom we're cursing. When done like that, that energy is not malice and hatred, and therefore we are not asking for malice and hatred on ourselves. We are giving compassion, and then we receive compassion from the universe, even through an act of cursing. We're aligning with the greater good. If you're suing somebody, it's usually a last resort. But there are people that just seem to love to sue people just because they annoy them. They have the resources perhaps to do it, and they just sue. They're sue happy, and they abuse the whole system, the whole court system. The whole reason for being able to sue somebody is now being abused. We lose sight of why the ability to sue another person is an important right to have, and that we reserve it for extreme circumstances. But it's the same kind of mentality that we see with these people that just want to curse at the drop of a hat because somebody annoyed them, or because they don't agree with them politically, or whatever reason. Anytime you decide that you want to curse somebody, you are asking that their behavior be bound, or that their freedom be bound. In some way, you are asking that they no longer have the freedom to act as they want to. And sometimes, like I said, as a last resort, that's necessary. But if you're just cursing because it feels good to you at the moment, ask yourself if you're ready to be judged by your own standards, because you will be. You will be. Are you perfect? Do you annoy people? Wherever you're falling short in your life, you're going to be judged because you're judging others. You're cursing another because they're bothering you, or you don't like them, or you feel as though who they are isn't good enough. So you're cursing them. The same way that you're doing that, the universe is going to come right in and do it to you. All of your shortcomings are going to be used against you, and you've set that ball in motion. So be careful of listening to the rhetoric that goes on about cursing as if it's no big deal. It is a big deal. It's a huge deal to curse another person. But to say you should never curse because it's such a big deal is wrong too. Just like you would never say you should never sue another person, or you should never press charges against another person. You should never put a person in prison. Of course you should if it's warranted. But it shouldn't be the norm. It shouldn't be your first recourse. You don't like somebody, so you shut them in prison? You don't like the way somebody's politics are, so you give them the death penalty? That's how people treat cursing, though. Be careful what you allow yourself to consider as normal. And this idea of normalizing cursing is something that's gotten bigger and bigger, I've noticed over time. When you need to curse another person, you'll know it because you'll be guided and led. You're doing it for the highest good of all. And usually you'll be called to do it because of your ability and your skill. It's something that's not undertaken lightly. And it's never done out of revenge. It's never a knee-jerk reaction. It's never a retaliation or a direct response to someone. And if it is, you know you're on the wrong track. Personally, I only use curses in the Psalms. I want the protections of those Psalms. If I do happen to be wrong, if I do happen to be off on a limb and not coming from the right point of view, and I decide to curse somebody and I do it through a Psalm, it's not going to harm me, and it's not going to harm them. I'm literally taking the Psalm and using it as a petition to press charges against someone else, so that the curse is not performed by me ultimately, but by a higher power. A lot of people say, well, why would you need to be the person to curse then? Why wouldn't the higher power just do it? Well, it's the same reason why the higher power doesn't just do anything. The higher power is there to respond. One of the qualities of the divine is responsiveness. And just like when we petition a higher power for help in a situation, we have to be the ones to start the ball rolling. The same thing goes with cursing. We have to be the one to get the ball rolling. But the good news about a psalmic curse, or this type of way of cursing, is that if we're way off track, the universe will just bring compassion back to us. My way of approaching curses is, first and foremost, I don't use it frivolously. And second of all, I only do it through the Psalms. That way, everybody's protected. Myself and everybody else is protected if I do happen to be off track. If I'm on the wrong track, nobody's going to get hurt. If I'm not on the wrong track, it will be very effective. In fact, even if I'm on the wrong track, it will be effective because I'll still receive a healing. I'll still find a way through it. The Psalm is so smart that it'll find a way for me to get the results that I thought I needed only through cursing. It'll find a way for me to have the resolution in a different manner. That's why I like to use the Psalms, is because they are very, very effective and they are extremely safe. It's a good idea to get in the habit of asking yourself what your motivation is for any kind of magic, but especially baneful magic against another individual. Have other resolutions been attempted? Have I tried everything else? Is this really the only recourse that I have? Is this a retaliation? Am I doing this out of anger? Am I doing this out of malice? Am I trying to get some sort of pleasure in the pain of another person or the downfall of another person? None of those are motivations for cursing. And if any of those are your motivations, it's good to know before you follow through with the curse, because you'll be saving yourself a lot of pain. And are you prepared to be judged in the same manner in which you are judging? Because a lot of people misunderstand that. They say, well, I'm not harming another person. I'm not raping people. I'm not stealing, or whatever reason you're trying to curse somebody else. I'm not doing those things. I can curse them because I'm not doing those things. But the universe doesn't look at it that way. The universe looks at it as, since you're judging them for their imperfections, you are now judging yourself for your own imperfections. What you put out, you get back immediately. Are you prepared to be judged as harshly for every shortcoming you have as you're judging them? Now, again, we're not saying that you should not protect yourself or that you should not have an opinion about what they're doing as being wrong. We're saying that if you're taking it to the extent of cursing them for whatever they're doing, you're saying, I'm willing to be cursed for my shortcomings as well. It's just how it works. Whether you feel like it's fair or not doesn't matter. That's how the universe works. There is going to be a cost. Like I said, with a psalmic curse, it's not quite the same, because with a psalmic curse, there are so many safeguards built into each of those curses that you'll only get good back when you do a psalmic curse. It's sometimes a wonderful way to kind of work through your problems with this other person is to curse them through a psalm. But only if that's your motivation. If that's not your motivation, if your motivation is to harm them, then the psalm will just be null and void for you if you're not willing to receive the other benefits that the psalm is there to give you. If you really are only using the psalm because you want to see them harmed, the psalm isn't going to give that to you. It's not going to do that for you. The good news is that you probably won't get the same kind of blowback, but sometimes you will. Sometimes you will if what you need is to learn that your own motivations need to be upgraded. If you're carrying around this idea that it's okay to retaliate against somebody out of anger, out of revenge, or to enjoy the pain of another person, if you're carrying that around and then you're going to the Psalms to try to get healing, the Psalms will heal you. And sometimes they'll heal you by showing you very clearly where your attitude is off. Just because there are safeguards in the psalm doesn't mean that you're not going to get some kind of blowback, because you will, for the purpose of teaching you, for the purpose of showing you what you need to let go of. Sometimes when people are really upset with somebody, they say, well, I'll accept the consequences. I just want to curse them. It's easy to say that, but on the other side of it, it's not so easy to say that. And I've known people in my life who have been so oriented toward cursing and hexing, and they destroyed their lives. Two of them in particular not only destroyed their lives, but died very young, tragically. Now, I can't say for certain, because it's not for me to know that that's why they died so young, but it does give me pause. I know that you were always boasting about your cursing. I know that you were always quick to curse another person and giggle about it and think it was so much fun. And I also noticed how your life spiraled out of control, and then we lost you early and young, and it was tragic. Those kinds of consequences aren't worth it. When you are really ready to curse somebody, and it's true that you are ready to curse and it's the best thing for you, you're going to notice that there is a sense of humility in your motivation. You're caring for the general collective when you curse somebody with humility. This is a last resort. There's nothing else that I can do. I'm being guided by a higher power to stop this behavior one way or another, to bind this behavior, to remove this person from being able to harm or whatever it is. But there's a sense of humility and a sense of reverence about it. And there's a sacredness to it that's not present in most of the cursing talked about. All magic is done out of choice. You're never compelled to do something against your will. So when you decide that you are going to use your magic to cause harm to another person, and you feel justified in that, make sure before you go through with it that you're doing this out of a sense of humility, out of reverence, out of care, compassion, and as a last resort. There's also another side of cursing, which is almost always healthy, and that's more along the lines of a banishing or a dissolving. And that's cursing tendencies, cursing habits, cursing thought forms. And you can use those curses liberally. You've got a poverty mindset, you can curse that. You can eliminate that. You can dissolve that. But you still want to do it out of a sense of humility and reverence and sacredness. Whatever emotion you're stoking is what you're going to get back. And so if you're cursing even your own negative thought forms out of a sense of hatred, out of a sense of desperation, out of a sense of tension, then you're actually increasing the problem. But if you're taking all of the emotion out of it, coming from a sense of humility and reverence and sacredness, to eliminate this tendency of mine for good, well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And only good can come from that. That's one of the best and most benign and effective uses for the psalmic curses. If you're on the psalmic initiatory path, you're going to come up in the course of your initiation each year against a bunch of curses. So you're going to have to decide, well, what's the practical magic here? What am I cursing? It doesn't always have to be a person. In fact, it rarely is for me. It's usually some sort of situation, some sort of tendency, some sort of thought form that I want eliminated. And it's very effective. It's important to not shy away from cursing either, but to understand what it is and how to use it and how not to use it and not to get in trouble with it, to respect this power. Creating balance in your life is the reason why you want to curse something, to create balance and to stop harm, to claim peace, to claim harmony. Whatever is destroying your peace, your joy, your harmony is eliminated. Cursing the tendency is always preferable to cursing the person. But occasionally, and very, very occasionally, it is necessary to curse a person. And when you do that, understand why you're doing it and what you're doing so that you don't curse yourself inadvertently. The other thing, too, is that a lot of people who boast about cursing are ineffective magically. They think they're cursing. It's a nice fantasy for them, but they're not. It's not working because you're not following the witch's pyramid. First and foremost, if you're telling me that you're cursing people, then obviously it's not very good. You're dissipating all of that power. In order to have effective magic, you need to be relaxed. You need to be focused. No tension, no negative emotions. And if you can sit and relax and have that laser focus on harming another person, one of several things are happening. Either it's the right thing to do, or you shouldn't be working magic because you're so blasé about harming another person that you're able to relax and feel joy in their downfall. That's a problem. If you're so blasé about harming another person, that's a problem. But most people who say that they're cursing aren't. They're just burning some black candles and chanting some words or whatever. And it's not really effective because they don't have that magical mindset. So that's good news. But those people that are effective at it and that love to do it usually have a very hard downfall. And it's not pretty to watch. And it's very sad. So be careful of what you hear out there in the Wicca sphere. It's not commonplace to curse people. It's not something that's funny, and it's not something that you do because somebody bothers you. It's a last resort. It's a sacred thing, and it's best reserved for cursing our own tendencies and thought forms out of existence. Be careful, be powerful, and understand you have the ability to curse away your own negative tendencies. And yes, you always have in reserve the ability to curse another person should you require it. And I hope that you can go your entire life without ever having to curse another person. But if it's necessary, you can do it. I recommend using those psalmic curses, though, because you are protected. Sometimes it seems like you are getting blowback if you really need to learn a lesson, and that it's for your highest good to learn that lesson. And sometimes even the Psalms will teach those lessons in somewhat of a harsh way, if it's necessary. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I so appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be.